Hard sports all plays. Hard sports all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. Hard sport all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Hard sports all plays.
All right. And with that, we say good evening once again. Welcome. Another Monday night, another episode of Bring It. How is everybody doing? Hope we're doing all right. It is Super Bowl week, Super Bowl 56, the Los Angeles Rams versus the Cincinnati Bengals. So much to cover, We've got Coach in the house. What's up, Coach?
What's up?
It's good to have always have Coach here giving us those little insights that none of us have. We have one of the mainstays of Who Day Nation, Mr. Jai Shields in the house. What's up, Jai?
Hey now, what's going on, everybody?
Cool. And we have the man, he's back, Xander. On his first episode, he boldly predicted that Cincinnati would make the playoffs, and he was right, so I had to have him back today. What's up, Xander?
What's up?
Yeah, that was a bold prediction, and we were all like blown away, but then when it came true, I'm like, all right, we got to have him back on the show. Definitely. All right, so huge matchup. A lot of people picked LA to get there. No one picked Cincinnati to be here, but it's a great matchup. Great teams. Basically, what I want to do is I want to break this thing down. I want to go through each position, get your take on, who has the bigger advantage. So, of course, we're going to start with the quarterback. Big matchup, Joe Burrow versus Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford, a wily veteran, first Super Bowl. Joe Burrow's won a national championship, won a Heisman, could be the first quarterback to win all three. Coach, who has the advantage, Stafford or Burrow?
Stafford. I mean, if you really, and you sit here, you think about it, who has the advantage? You say Stafford more so just because of his O-line, just because he has the running back. Joe Burrow, man, to be honest, he's playing with house money. He wasn't expected to be there. So regardless of the situation, it's really not any pressure for him.
All right, so you think Stafford has the advantage because of the O-line. It's definitely a good take. All right, Jai, I have a feeling which way you're going to lean, but I want to hear your take on this.
Well, when it comes to which quarterback has the advantage, you can honestly flip a coin. The quarterback that's playing with house money, of course, is Joseph Burrow. But the quarterback that, kind of has the advantage in this game, you can make it's 50-50. On the Matthew Stafford standpoint, he did what he was supposed to do. The trade has been a success. He takes the Rams to the Super Bowl his first season there, on top of the fact that, he gets the game in his home building to boot. NFC champion, get the Super Bowl in his own building, and see his family, can see his wife, doesn't have to worry about travel or anything like that. Had 8 home games at SoFi in the regular season, 10 if you want to include the 2 in the playoffs. So that's that comfortability there with Stafford. And then, of course, but then you look on the other side, Joe Burrow. We all know that the Rams have the superior offensive line. With Joe Burrow, that just doesn't matter, because Joe Burrow is a special type of animal, none that I've ever seen before in my life, where it's like no matter what you throw at him, he has an answer for everything you give him, and that's like he gets stronger, and his performance, his quarterback play increases as the game goes on, as the game gets tougher, as the game gets more grittier. You would think in the advantage of the opponent, but with Joe Burrow, it's the other way around. He's not going to be fazed by this. Yes, it's his first Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford is his first Super Bowl too, but it's Joe Burrow's first Super Bowl. He was in the national championship his last full college season. He's going to go out there with the mindset of, I'm gonna win this football game, but also he knows in the back of his head that if, God forbid, knock on wood, Cincinnati comes up short, he has nothing to lose. His first full season as an NFL starting quarterback, he takes the team to the Super Bowl. So as far as like what quarterback kind of has the advantage, it can go both ways based on a certain based on a set of circumstances that I've given you. It goes both ways.
All right, cool. Xander, what about you?
Now it's not really based on completion percentage, but I did a little bit of like deeper research. Stafford's completed 72% of his passes. Burrow's completed 68. Both of them have pretty even completions of percentages. But I think that Stafford has the advantage in this one. He's got the O-line. He's at home. And if you're at home in the Super Bowl, home field advantage is great regardless, especially in the Super Bowl. So when it really comes down to the nitty-gritty, Stafford's got the better receivers. He's also got the better O-line. So I think Stafford's got the bigger advantage in this one.
The better receivers. Interesting. All right, when we get to the receivers, we'll circle back to that for sure. Okay, all right, let's go into the backfield. Joe Mixon had a great year. The Rams have been, running back by committee. Cam Akers came back from the injury. The other guy who played in New England, I cannot remember his name.
Sony Michel.
Thank you. Sony Michel. So they've kind of had a running back by committee. But again, let's start with Jai in this one. Where's the running back matchup? Because I don't know. Is Cincinnati's number 2? Can they equal up to the Rams 1-2 running game like that? As far as having it, if Mixon does go down, perhaps.
Well, you got to look at it from this case and standpoint. If you go and look at every single Bengal playoff game, you look at Joe Mixon's carries. You go look at the Chief game 2 weeks ago, Joe Mixon's stat line, 21 carries, 88 yards rushing, which statistically has been his best against the Kansas City Chiefs 2 weeks ago in the AFC Championship game, was statistically his best playoff performance of the last 3 weeks or so. You go and you look at the Tennessee game, he was responsible for scoring Cincinnati's only touchdown in the game, although you take away that touchdown, 14 carries, 54 yards. And then you go back and look at the Raider game in the opening round, his stat line for that game, 17 carries, 48 yards. So he's kind of and this is what you, from a Bengals fans' perspective, you kind of appreciate about Mixon, is because he's played well into his role. He knows that it's a we thing instead of a me thing. He knows that if the game plan and the formulas for us to win a series of playoff football games is for me to get 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 carries for about anywhere from 54 to 75 yards in a game and only score one touchdown throughout the previous 3 playoff games that he's played. As long as we're winning football games and our season is still continuing by the week, that's all that matters. And the thing you also got to realize with the Rams as well is that, Cam Akers with the fumbling. I was very, very, very concerned about his fumbling miscues in the Tampa game a few weeks back. And you also look at, McVay has, you saw it in the Tampa game as well, how he kind of fell into that trap of getting away from the run, albeit the fact that Akers was fumbling the football. Get off Cam Akers and go back to, I understand you wanted to, make sure his legs are under him coming off of the Achilles tear, but go ahead and run it with Sony Michel. And like he's a scrub, and like he doesn't have playoff experience in his previous years as a New England Patriot in his NFL career. So with McVay, it's being too reckless as far as instituting the run game. And on a Cincinnati standpoint, Zach Taylor, I've noticed this in the game, that they are too in love with you see it with every game that they play this year, that they want to work Mixon into the game plan and want to, have him his game where, on 22 carries, he rushes for $105 and 2 touchdowns. And if you notice, every single playoff game we've had, it wasn't outside of really kind of sort of the AFC Championship game. The offensive game plan and us putting points on the board did not rely on Joe Mixon running crazy. And so Zach Taylor kind of falls into that trap a little bit because he gets too dependent on running on first downs too often and not when he should be throwing, when he should put the ball in Burrow's hands and let him throw the ball. But Joe Mixon has been just a vital part of this team's phenomenal playoff run at just as much as Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, because he's been to use basketball term, he's been a hell of a role player, to be quite honest with you.
No, definitely. All right, Coach, where do you see the running back matchup in this game?
I'm gonna go again with the Rams. One thing about it is you got Sonny Michel. Guess what? He played in the Super Bowl, so he has that experience. He has that leadership. I think that's one thing that you see. You looked at the Rams when they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl. They didn't have any leadership. They didn't have an understanding of what to happen. Now, when you look at the Rams, they understand what it takes to win. They understand how it was being at the Super Bowl because you got all this stuff going on. You got all this excitement. And man, you're in LA. It's gonna be big time. So I give them the nods to them again. With Cincy, they want to run the football, but they can't because your O-line is not. Their O-line is not good.
Right.
I mean, that's if you want to say the kryptonite of that team is the O-line. So I just truly believe that with Sonny and Eckler, those are guys that's gonna tote the rock, and they're gonna open up everything.
Interesting. All right, Xander, what about you?
Well, as you said, running back by committee for the Rams, and that's kind of going to be hard to stop for the Bengals, in my opinion. But in my opinion, I think Joe Mixon has the advantage. I think, as you said, he doesn't have the best O-line, but he's also rushed for 1,600 or 1,800 yards behind that not great O-line. So clearly, he can make something happen with nothing. I think that the running back by committee might be a little bit ineffective, but I do think that it will have a significant impact in the first half, in my opinion. And we'll just watch the Super Bowl to see what happens. But I think Mixon overall in the game will have the bigger advantage.
Interesting. All interesting takes. All right, let's get to the glamour boys on the outside. Cooper Kupp and Odell versus T. Higgins and Jamar. Man, this is like a dream fantasy wide receiver matchup. These are the guys that I want to watch all day. These four guys just play ball and go out. So I'm gonna go back to you, Xander. Just four fabulous wide receivers. All Odell finally found his spot in LA when he came to the Rams from Cleveland. The T. Higgins, the second year in the league, Jamar and Burrow hooking up. Xander. I mean, like. It's gonna be a marathon and a sprint and a marathon all in the same. That's how I see it. How do you see the wide receiver matchup?
Wide receiver matchup is great. I love watching Odell. I love watching Odell regardless, like in the regular season, but I loved watching him this postseason. He has been really showing what he can bring to the Rams. And on the flip side, Jamar Chase, he's really been showing what he's going to bring in the future for the Bengals. He's been an outstanding rookie. Him and T. Higgins have been really making it work on the outside and bringing in opportunities for Tyler Boyd. But for the top two, overall, I think obviously you got to have the better quarterback to have the better wide receiver core. So, or at least the better performing wide receiver core, excuse me. And so I think the Rams will take this one, but I'm not going to take anything away from the Cincinnati Bengals. They have a phenomenal wide receiver core, and I think that will show. And I am very much hoping for like that Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl where it was just yards on yards on yards. I want to see 1,000 yards and like 250 to each receiver, all that good stuff.
I think considering NBC is getting no ratings with the Olympics, I think they want to see that too.
Funny, good point.
That's for
Can't
sure.
show the Olympics the week before the Super Bowl. You're not gonna get much hype over it.
Exactly. All right, Coach. So these four, Cooper Kupp has just been a possession guy all year. I mean, you can't stop. You can only hope to contain him. So, do you double him and single cover Odell, or do you just? I mean, how do you handle these Rams receivers, and then how do the Rams handle these two outstanding wideouts on Cincinnati's side of the ball?
One thing about it is when you look at Cooper Kupp, that's Mr. Double Move. He's the guy that pretty much he gets the one-on. If you try to one-on-one him, he's gonna beat that guy because he runs great routes, double moves.
Right.
You backdoor it with Odell. Odell's not necessarily the one-on-one guy, but he's the one that sits in the zones and that kills you. Like because usually when they run the zone, Cooper Kupp is the clear out guy.
Right.
For some reason, he gets wide open in the playoffs. Don't ask me why. But again, but if you look at Cincinnati, Jamar Chase, I mean, he's a difference maker. You could throw screens, you could throw jet sweeps, you could throw it all across the field. The other two wide receivers, I think they're good, but here's going to be the issue that I know, especially with the Rams. Who's going to guard? Are they going to double team Jamar Chase and then they're going to put Ramsey backside 1-on-1 with Boyd or whoever's on the other side?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the questions, because sometimes when you look at the Rams, you don't know what they're going to do. And then you can flip it to the other side with Cincy. If you line Jamar Chase just wide, he's not going to get any balls. He's not going to get any catches. Like, you have to do one thing about it. I don't know why Cincy they wait till the second half to really sit down and change their offense. And you notice that, okay, they started sending him in motion, which is hard. When you motion somebody, it's hard to have a double team or have a safety over top of Jamar Chase. So that's going to be really the chess match that you're going to have with them. I know one thing, and I guess to comment on what Josh says, if Cincy doesn't run the football, like Joe Burrow can't go back there and throw 30 plus times or 40 plus times. If he throws 40 plus times, that means now you're talking about a D-line that's just finna pin their ears back and go.
Right.
So they have to have like some kind of little balance and everything else. Like I said, it's a great when you look at this receiver corps. I mean, Jamar Chase is electrifying, man. But Cooper Kupp on the other stand is like he's an artist out there. You know. So.
You have two all-pro receivers in this game, and this is an interesting point. I think if you got 2 and 2 great receivers, 2-1-2 matches on each side. Go to the third guy. You got Tyler Boyd on Cincinnati. You got Van Jefferson on LA. So, Jai, I pose a question to you. When it comes down to the third guy, because I don't want to say that the top two cancel each other out, but does Boyd have the advantage over Jefferson? Does Jefferson have the advantage over Boyd, having that extra outlet when each team goes 4 or 5 wide?
Me personally, Big Dog, I'd have to go and not to sound biased here, I'd have to go in the advantage of Tyler Boyd. If you go and look at what Tyler Boyd has done this season, he did not have a 1,000-yard season. If he would have had a couple of those Jamar Chase 200-plus receiving yard type performances in the back end of regular season, he'd be in the same conversation with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins as 1,000-yard receivers on the Bengals squad. But if you go ahead and you look, and not necessarily what he did in the Titan game, but look at what he did. Look at the plays that he made and the contributions that he made, especially in the Raider game. The Raider game is you saw how much he was utilized playing that slot receiver role. Honestly, one of the most underrated slot receivers in all of football. Knows how to get open. He's great in the open space, great in the open field. You get him on the verticals, the drag routes over the middle of the field, out routes. I mean, he is just such a dynamic and talented wide receiver. Also, you have to factor in this as well that that Tyler Boyd is the quote unquote. I mean, they're a young football team, but he's the quote unquote elder statesman of that wide receiver room. T. Higgins, this is the second year in the league, and we all know Jamar Chase is a rookie. Tyler Boyd's been on the team since 2016. This is his 6th, 7th year with the Bengals in the National Football League. So if the Bengals get Tyler Boyd involved in this game, especially if it's going to be known right from the opening possession that the Rams are going to put the clamps on Jamar Chase and not let them beat them, it's going to if all goes according to plan, and if Cincinnati keeps it balanced as well as they can between the run and the pass, but if they when the times where the ball's in Burrow's hands for him to make a play, to convert on 3rd and long and put the ball in the end zone, and they got Jamar Chase clamped up, look out for Tyler Boyd chilling out in the slot. Because if you're not careful, he'll kill you. You can give all the attention and all the time in the world to Jamar Chase. Tyler, if you're caught with your pants down around your ankles, Tyler Boyd's gonna kill you. It's just the fact of the matter. So, be interesting to see how the Rams, from a Rams standpoint, from the game plan, I look at it as, okay, what 2 players can we afford can we not afford for them to have a big game? Jamar Chase is one of them. Jamar Chase is one of them. Take away the tight end C.J. Uzomah, and then take your chances with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. If you take away their best receiver, our best receiver in Jamar Chase, and you take away the tight end safety blanket who's playing with an MCL strain and C.J. Uzomah, then it'd be a little bit interesting to see what Burrow's going to do, essentially having to have two wide receivers essentially to work with Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. But if you're not careful, Tyler Boyd's going to kill the Rams in the slot. Kill him.
Yeah, interesting. Definitely going to be a good, that slot receiver is definitely going to be an interesting spot to match up. All right, I want to move on to the offensive line. Now, I know we've been saying, the Bengals had offensive line problems. Against Tennessee, they had problems, but against Kansas City, they only gave up 1 sack. So, obviously they made some adjustments. Obviously, they're going up against, and we can incorporate the D line in this too. They're going against Aaron Donald, who is, is probably one of the top 5 ever defensive linemen that has ever played in this league. There's arguments that he's the best guy, but no, Reggie White called, said hello, win a Super Bowl and then we'll talk, But Coach, I'm gonna go to you first. Let's incorporate the offensive line and defensive line together. Let's analyze this matchup because, obviously there's been proven holes in the Cincy O-line. And the Rams D-line is definitely a lot stronger. But on the other side, can the Cincy D-line break through the Rams O-line? Because, Stafford isn't as quick in the pocket. They get a little penetration. Stafford can't move the way Burrow can move. So analyze this offensive line, defensive line matchup. You're muted.
My bad. No, I say the Rams. One thing about it is, because now when you look at the Cincinnati's offensive line, pick your poison. You're gonna double team that guy in the middle. Now you're gonna leave Von Miller and everybody else. I can't even think of the other D tackle, which is very good. He's very good. Those are gonna be where it's messed up. How are you gonna double team? And how do you gonna help with the run? I mean, not in the run, but help just in general for everybody else. So usually, like you said, you got a banged up tight end. So you're probably going to bring another tight end in. And he's going to probably do a lot of blocking. The running back, which is what's the running back for Cincy? Jai? I know.
Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine.
Yeah, Joe Mixon is pretty much he's a receiver in the backfield, but now he has to stay in the block. Because one thing about it is, and I think where a lot of people when we start talking about playoff games, man, let's just be honest. There was no defense in the AFC. like there was no defense in the AFC. Yeah, we can sit here and say there was nobody play defense in the AFC games. Now you flip it over to the NFC, everybody was pretty much playing defense. And one thing about it, like even the Rams, even when they played the Bucks, they was causing havoc. When they played the 49ers, they still was causing havoc. They kind of mixed it up with the run game, and that's one thing about the 49ers. But I like what they're doing. Cincy scares me because I don't think you can go a first half and not do anything. Like you're not gonna go and beat them. If you're down 17 points, that means you have to throw the football, and you not with that D line.
Right.
I think that's where a lot of people. You look at the Kansas City D line. Chris Johnson, Jones, he's the only one. Right. Who else was you afraid of? Look at the secondary. Who was you afraid of?
Besides Matthew, that's it, right?
Yeah,
right. Chris Jones and Tyrann Mathieu. That's really it. I mean, Daniel Sorensen, he stinks.
Yeah, so it's like when people look at it, I'm like, you look on. Don't get me wrong, Boyd and the number 3 receiver, they have to have a big game because you got the mismatch at the corner spot. But if you're gonna sit there and think you're gonna run the ball on them, no. If you think everything has to be 5 for the Bengals to be successful, it has to be 8 and under. Well, 10 yards max, but where it has to be quick, out of his hands, screens, let's go. Anything you try to go vertical, they're gonna be in the bind because the line can't hold up.
Oh, definitely not. All right, Xander. So, quick, just talk about both offensive lines, all defensive lines. Conglomeration of both. In the trenches. who's going to win that battle in the trenches, you know, when it comes down to it?
In the trenches, the Rams starter depth for their D-line is just insane. I mean, Aaron Donald, as we said, top 5 D lineman to ever play, may even finish as the top D lineman to ever play. But you also have Greg Gaines and A'Shawn Robinson. Greg Gaines is the defensive tackle coming in the middle. A'Shawn Robinson's coming off the outside. You also have Leonard Floyd and Von Miller coming off the edge as linebackers. Jonah Williams and Trey Hopkins are really the two people that I would highlight on that Bengals O-line. And, I mean, Williams can only do so much when he's got A'Shawn Robinson, and they're going to have to double-team Donald, or he's going to have a field day with Joe Burrow. So, I mean, the question is, on this D-line for the Rams, obviously you prioritize Donald, but who do you prioritize after that, A'Shawn Robinson or Greg Gaines? On the flip side, though, you have Trey Hendrickson, B.J. Hill, DJ Reader, Sam Hubbard. So they're running opposite schemes here. So the Bengals are running a 4-3, and the Rams are running a 3-4. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that runs up. I think at the end of the game, we'll see the Rams D-line has really dominated the O-line, but don't take away from that from the Bengals D-line. I think they're also gonna have a good day. I mean, Whitworth is injured, so they might have to bring in Joe Noteboom, who also is questionable. So they might even have to bring in their third guy, who happens to be Trey Ankrum. And David Edwards, Brian Allen, Austin Corbett, Rob Havenstein, they're all very, very good. I just think that it's going to be a lot for them to handle this 4-3 from the Bengals. And from what I've seen, the Bengals have had great games with their D-line. And but overall, as I said at the beginning, the Rams are going to have the advantage. I think that front seven for the Rams is just going to be way too much to handle for the Bengals O-line.
Interesting. All right, John, I'm going to pose a question to you this way. Obviously, CJ Uzomah is coming. Is he cleared to play, or we don't know yet? Because they might have to keep him in the block, and that, you know, not having that tight end as an outlet is definitely, you know, going to hurt offensively. But they might need him to block that to help out with the offensive line. So, what are you hearing about that?
Well, he said earlier this morning in his little media day Zoom meetings earlier this morning that, you know, there's no, and I'm paraphrasing, basically saying, among other things, that there's no way in hell I'm going to miss the biggest game of my life. So
right.
CJ is going to play, whether, you know, if he wakes, it all depends on, of course, how his knee feels when he wakes up at the, you know, whatever hotel the Bengals are staying at in Inglewood come Sunday morning. But like you said, it's very intuitive that CJ Uzomah is playing, not just because of what he provides in the passing game, but also the work that he does in pass protection. And, you know, it's funny because I was thinking about this while Zan was throwing out those stats. You know, you got two quarterbacks that lead the league in categories. If you are an NFL quarterback of years prior, you don't want to lead in getting sacked and interceptions. And if we learned anything from, that's why I don't think, although, you know, it's going to be living hell dealing with Donald and Von Miller all game long, that if Joe Burrow can withstand 8 sacks against the Tennessee, or 9 sacks against the Tennessee Titans, as long as he doesn't turn over the football and he's still
total different animals, Jai.
Listen, no, you gotta hear me out. Hear me out.
No, sir. That boy is ignorant. They ignorant, Jai. They ignorant. That's some total different.
Listen, this is what you learn. Listen, the bottom, and here's the point I'm trying to make. You know, if you don't turn over the football, you're going to be all right. Matthew Stafford, think about him. You know, will the Cincinnati pass rush, and they have done and their defense has done a very good job of kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Improvising and coming up with schemes and inserting players on the fly with no Larry Ogunjobi, who's been injured since the Raider game back in Wild Card Weekend. So if you're Cincinnati and you're Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard, and the crew, your goal is to make Matthew Stafford, you know, be on his toes and think, and not have him have one Mississippi, two Mississippi, three Mississippi to throw a ball 70 yards downfield to find Cooper Kupp or Van Jefferson or OBJ. You want to get to Stafford as quickly as much as you possibly can to see if to either hit him so the ball comes out of his hand, 15 yards, 20 yards underthrown, or you get after him quickly and get after him fast and often to make him rush the errant throw, and so you can steal a couple of possessions. Because what's also been a big time key of Cincinnati the last 3 weeks is the timely turnover and forcing Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, and 2 weeks ago Patrick Mahomes of making the ill-timed interception. A lot of because of the pass rush that Cincinnati was able to maintain and grow and penetrate onto the opposition of the Raiders, Tennessee, and Kansas City. But offense, they're going to have the hands filled dealing with Aaron Donald and Von Miller because if they don't have a scheme, whether to begin the game or if the game's somewhat close and they don't devise a scheme, with the 30-minute halftime, if Cincinnati is not careful, it could be a long night for them. I don't anticipate it being one, but it can easily get away from them fast if they let Aaron Donald and Von Miller single-handedly, with the tandem between those two, take over the football game. But it's also imperative that Matthew Stafford, doesn't let that Cincinnati pass rush face him into making the ill-timed Matthew Stafford patented interception.
All right, Coach, finish what you were going to say, and then we're going to take a break after this.
No, I mean, I, to a degree, I agree with him, but we can't go off of what Tennessee did. Because one thing about it is, name one corner in the secondary for Tennessee.
I gotta pull up my my roster sheet.
I guarantee you can name at least two, huh? You can name two secondary players, at least one for sure.
Well, Jalen Ramsey,
for the Rams, Jalen Ramsey, Eric Weddle, and the other corner that they have.
I think that's the problem. And then don't get me wrong, man. Like I said, Bangles play with house money. I didn't pick them to beat Tennessee nor the Chiefs, honestly. So they're playing with house money. I give him a lot of respect. Joe Burrow, he takes the licks, but there's a difference. There's a big difference. And then, like I said, we say Matt Stafford, but what people got to realize, man, you played some teams. Your last 5 games, except the Arizona Cardinals game, they were like, you played the 49ers twice. That's a slugfest. Regardless of the situation, you played Tampa Bay. You can say what you want. That was a battle. Then you had to backdoor it again and play the 49ers again. Like, what Cincy has it doesn't scare them. To me, it shouldn't scare them enough. Like I said, you got to respect the receiver core. You got to respect that. You got to respect Joe Burrow. But that line is paper mache, man.
All right, paper mache. I like that. I like how Josh's talking about Mississippi's, man. We used to do that back in the day when I was playing football. So there you go. And when it was just in black and white. Hey, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back right after this.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics living the same. Offensitation, sports information, hitting the airways, taking the nation. Sport all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Network. We on top of our game. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.
All right, we are back. We've been talking about the Super Bowl and analyzing the hell out of it so far. We got a couple more positions to go. Let's talk about both teams' secondary. Now, from where I see it as the Rams have a strong corners, but the Bengals seem to have strong safeties. So to me, it's kind of a wash, and it's going to be a matter of what the receivers can do to these corners. Jalen Ramsey, All-Pro, Pro Bowl receiver, but he can get beat. So, it's gonna be an interesting matchup on the outside, how these guys can guard. Xander, what does the secondary need to do to not stop these guys, contain them at least? can any of them do it, or which one do you see having a little bit of success back there?
Well, for the Rams secondary against the Bengals wide receivers, obviously it's going to be Jalen Ramsey against Jamar Chase. That's going to be the marquee matchup of the night. You're obviously going to see them go at it. I think Jamar Chase will get a couple good routes on them, probably break off a couple big chunk plays. But I don't see Jalen Ramsey giving up a huge game. Then you have Darius Williams. He's the cornerback 2 against T. Higgins. I haven't really watched too much film on the Rams this season, so I can't really say how good Darius Williams is. But from what I've seen about the Rams secondary and the defense, I think he'll have some trouble containing him. I think it won't be a complete container, but I do think that at some point the Rams secondary will figure out the scheme that they're trying to do, and I think that they'll try to throw Joe Burrow off his rhythm. Trying to bring maybe a safety up to help instead, maybe doubling Jamar Chase or even T. Higgins if they have to. Maybe he's having a big game. And on the flip side, it is Chidobe Awuzie and Eli Apple, 2 pretty much like shared cornerback 1s. I mean, in my opinion, I think Chidobe Awuzie would be cornerback 1 and Eli Apple would be 2. And those guys are going up against Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham. I mean, that's going to be a tough matchup regardless. Any cornerback can tell you in the NFL that going up against Cooper Kupp is probably very difficult. And the same for Odell Beckham. I mean, they both got, Odell Beckham's a little older, but, they still both got speed. They got chunk play ability. They got big play ability. I mean, Cooper Kupp's a walking big play. But in the grand scheme of things, I think it will be as you said, the Rams have corners, but not as much safeties. It'll be Nick Scott and Taylor Rapp versus Jesse Bates and Von Bell on the Bangles side. So all in all, Rams are going to have the advantage on this one. Rams are definitely going to win this matchup. But I think the Bengals contain the Rams offense at least for a bit, and they do a really nice job in the secondary. I know that they don't really have big name corners, but they do have corners. So they do have the ability to lock them down.
Well, the Bengals do have ex-New York Giant Eli Apple, who is once again another Giant player succeeding on another ball club. That's just the story of our life. So that's the way it's been since 1979. I'll tell you that much. But John, interesting secondary matchup. If you're Coach Taylor, do you put Apple on Kupp? Do you put him on Beckham? And if you're Coach McVay, where do you put Ramsey? Do you put him on Higgins or do you put him on Jamar?
You put your best corner on their best receiver. You put Jalen Ramsey on Jamar Chase as 1, and then sorry about that. And then if you're Cincinnati, you put your best corner, which Awuzie, you put him on you put him on Cooper Kupp, and you kind of pick your poison with Odell Beckham Jr. Same thing for the Rams. You make sure Ramsey's locking down Jamar Chase, and you pick your poison with Tyler Boyd in the slot, and T. Higgins also on the other outside wide receiver, and you let the chips fall where they may. But like you said, Big Dog, the Rams have the advantage as far as the cornerbacks, but Cincinnati has the advantage of the better safeties. And Jesse Bates, and it's been quiet, and it's been not really talked about a lot. But Jesse Bates has had himself a hell of a January. You want to talk about the key play? He had that clutch tip pass that was intended to Tyreek Hill at the beginning of the overtime period that knocked the ball right into Von Bell's hands, who's also had himself a phenomenal postseason. So if you're Cincinnati, like you saw with Tennessee, like you saw with Tennessee, like you saw with the Raiders in the opening round, and Von Bell that had a key deflected pass to stall out Vegas's opening drive that only resulted in a field goal. So if you're Cincinnati, you need a big time performance from both of your safeties. Von Bell and Jesse Bates keep on keeping on with their performances that they've had over the last 3 weeks. And that element, Cincinnati is going to be fine. Limit the big plays. Limit the big plays. If one Ram wide receiver catches, 7, 8, 9 balls for over 100 yards, but they really don't take over the game, you'll live with it. What you can't have happen is allow Cooper Kupp to go nuts with 8 receptions, 110 yards in one hand, and then have Odell Beckham Jr. catch 10 passes for 135 yards in the other. You have to. You would love to have to kind of like keep both of those guys under 90 yards receiving, but you got to be realistic with your circumstances. And I'm saying that Cincinnati can't do it because they absolutely can. They held Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in check in the second half of the game 2 weeks ago, and they also held them in check when they played them back on January the 2nd. But you cannot afford both of them to have big time games, and what you also cannot afford is have those two on clamp down and then have Van Jefferson out of the clear blue sky take over the game. And then from a Ram perspective, Ramsey he's got to play shutdown defense, and that him getting burned by Mike Evans down the right sideline in the divisional round to bring Tampa Bay within a score. You can't have that. You cannot afford that to happen again in this game. I don't care what quarter it is. I don't care who catches it. I don't care who burns who. When it's locked down, Jalen, it's locked down, which means every time the ball is thrown or the quarterback looks in your direction, it's a negative play. Not we play lockdown, shutdown defense for 95% of the game, and the game's on the line, and Joe Burrow finds Jamar Chase down the sideline 20 yards behind his man, and he catches it and either ties the game up or puts the game out in front or puts the game away in Cincinnati Super Bowl champions. So Jalen Ramsey has to have that all-pro, shut him down, Darrelle Revis-esque back in his heyday, Revis Island type games for 60 minutes, not 45, not 30, not 10, not 15, not 59, not 58 minutes and 25 seconds. No, full 60. Shut him down. Shut him down. If he doesn't, they're in trouble.
John, I got a question for you. What do the Rams? I'm sorry. What do the Bengals run defensively in the secondary? Or you think they're more of a man or a zone?
They play a lot. It's in the first half of the Kansas City game. They got caught with their pants down a lot of times with zone, and then they kind of like made the adjustment to kind of play man a little bit with the safety up high up top. So it's again Cincinnati. They're a weird finicky team like that. They let their opponents they see what their opponents are doing offensively first, and then they make their adjustments off from that. The only thing is that the Rams are such an explosive offense. Not to say that Kansas City isn't, because they were down 21-3. But you can't afford to get yourself into a big time hole like that, because the Rams also have experience.
Okay, so you said more of a zone. Now that you compare Tyreek Hill, who's a better route runner, Tyreek Hill or Cooper Kupp?
Cooper Kupp.
Who's a better route runner, Tyreek Hill or Odell Beckham?
That's an interesting question.
That's one you got to think about.
Yeah. Because when you look at it, you look at Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is a vertical slash. I'm gonna drag across the field, right. And he I'm gonna outrun you. That's his stuff. But when you look at Cooper Kupp, he's more of a double move kind of guy. Like he's gonna hit you with double moves. Odell is similar to a little bit to what Tyreek does. I think that's where people, and then Kelce only good for 10 to 15 yards. But the reality of it is you can't run a zone against them, because by running zone, that means you're only gonna rush 4, maybe 5.
Right.
But if you switch to a man, that means you're going to be blitzing and you're going to keep them on the island. So that means you got to get there. One thing about the Rams, they don't run a lot of man. They run a lot of zone. They're going to hit you with a lot of zone. They kind of confuse you, especially with the pass rush what they got. Because there's times, like I said, if you watch when they played the Bucs, you see DNs dropping, or outside linebackers in that case, dropping in coverage, and they're just rushing 4 or 3, or they bring 5. I think they play a lot of games with you, depending on what your scheme is. And Jalen Ramsey, he doesn't have to really. He's not going to be on the island. If he's on the island, guess what they're going to do? He's going to be on the island against Boyd and all of them. because now you look at Boyd. What is Boyd? What does he run? Routes.
He's slot. You see a lot of vertical routes with Boyd, and you also see him at a lot of times cut across the middle of the field.
So then, if he plays the slot, then they're not gonna. Whoever's on the outside is pretty much who he's gonna guard. They're gonna probably spy, chase. Just for the simple fact of the matter is, if you leave him outside, we got a safety over top. We got a corner to play underneath him, and we're gonna man up whoever's on the other side. So that automatically kills two people. And we're gonna say, Boyd, all right, beat us with your route running.
Right.
That's the thing where you see the matchups goes, and you flip it. Like I said, Cincy, Rams is more balanced than Kansas City because the Rams can run the football.
Absolutely. But
that's the thing about it. Kansas City can't run the football.
100%. 100%. And also didn't help Kansas City 2 weeks ago because Cincinnati was, one of the top 5 best, top 10, top 5 best run defenses in all of football. And and Kansas City can't run the football worth a damn. And the Rams are a very good team at with their rushing attack. So, and it's again be interesting to see, are the Rams going to come out there swinging and try to win the game, war of attrition, battle in the trenches, and run the ball down the Bengals defense's throat with Sony Michel and Cam Akers, because the Bengals also knew in the back of their minds with Kansas City that they're gonna and they shouldn't have vacated the run as quickly as they did. Because they run the football quite well with, I forget his name, the other running back that Kansas City has. But since they knew in the back of their mind that it's only going to be a matter of time till they get that itch where they want to let that sucker fly, when they see that all we're doing is just stacking a box on them, and they say Tyreek Hill just sprint downfield.
That's the thing, though. If you stack the box, what that means? You're in a what?
In the blitz.
You're in a man.
Right.
You're the man. Guess what? Tight end, running back, you stay in the block. I will take my money one-on-one with anybody that you got in your secondary against Cooper Kupp. That's a bad white boy. You can say what you want. Look, that's the whole point. Everybody, you say, hey, the Rams want to run the football because once you run the football, you have to check into a man. You either gonna check into a man or a cover 3. Now, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna throw it out there to Cooper Kupp, and then he's just gonna make one person miss. Or Odell Beckham, which what they did, you've seen them do it. That's the game that you got to play. Like when you come in, you got to say, okay, hey, we're gonna establish stopping the run.
Right.
Okay. How can we stop the run? Can we stop it with our front 7? Do we have to bring another guy in? By bringing another guy, that means we're going to put people on the island. So that means we got to make sure we bring pressure. Because if we don't bring pressure, strike up the band.
And that's why I love having Coach on the show, man. You get into some analysis stuff that none of us, that guys like me wouldn't see. Definitely you're seeing stuff which is very, very cool. All right, one more position I want to talk about: the unsung heroes of the playoffs, the kickers. The lowly kickers. The kickers have been like, the champions of this, especially, Mighty Mac has been calling him. Evan McPherson for Cincinnati has been
Shooter McPherson.
Shooter McPherson, exactly.
McPherson.
He's been. I actually saw that movie the other day, Happy Gilmore. But yeah, he's been coming in there just clutch, just like, basically walk in like, watch this. Matt Gay's been hitting some clutch field goals. So just quickly, 3 seconds left. You taking Matt Gay? You taking McPherson? Coach, who you taking?
Man, I'm gonna take. I gotta take the Rams because that's his home.
Right.
Honestly, truthfully, they all done well. It's not a. I gotta take the guy that's been kicking. He's been kicking them for a whole year. That's the only upside.
Right.
They've all made and missed field goals, but I gotta give my respect to the home team. That's the only difference.
All right, Xander, who are you taking?
Indoors,
no weather, so no elements.
I know. Indoors, no weather. Matt Gay has been kicking there for the whole season. I do agree with that. He's got a big advantage in that. But Evan McPherson, I don't think has missed this postseason.
No. He has not.
He is money right now. And if there's 3 seconds left, no win, no conditions, I'm going to take Evan McPherson. I love that kid so much. I loved watching him at the beginning of the season. I love watching him progress throughout the season into a great kicker. And then I love watching him with the postseason, just getting so happy, especially last week. I mean, me and him had the same reaction when he kicked the Bengals into the Super Bowl. I was like, woo, all right. Great. All right, cool.
And the crazy thing is, he's not much older than you and Jai. He's not much older than you guys. Like maybe 2 years older.
I know,
he is.
Right.
He's a young guy.
Yeah, last year was kicking down in Florida. Now he's kicking in the biggest game of his life. Jai, your man's been money. I mean, and I remember back in the when they were in the Green Bay game in overtime, he was missing. It was definitely his rookie nerves set in, but he's obviously gotten past that. So when it comes down to it, is your boy going to kick you to a Super Bowl?
Listen, his clutch kicking helped a ton when our red zone offense was in the toilet against the Rams. Outside of Joe Mixon's touchdown, he was our offense in the Titan game and kicked us to the AFC Championship game. And he kicked the field goal to break the 21-21 tie to put us up 24-21 late in the fourth quarter. And he kicked the game-winning field goal, granted a chip shot, but kicked the game-winning field goal to get us to the Super Bowl and win the AFC Championship. Not to mention the game-winning kick he made against the Vikings week 1. Not to mention the game-winning kick he made against the Jaguars in week 2. And the game-winning kick he made against the Jaguars in week 2, not to mention the game-tying kick he made against the 49ers in that overtime loss, not to mention a couple of big kicks that he had in the 15-10 defensive slugfest against Denver. So, and like Xander said, we give him Shooter McPherson, Money Mac. I mean, this guy's got so many different nicknames because he has just been just as on fire in this postseason as Joe Burrow is. He has just been absolutely money all postseason long. And if you are either new to the NFL or new to watching the Bengals or haven't really paid attention to them a whole hell of a lot this season, you wouldn't know that this guy is a rookie because no pressure. I mean, this guy turns to Brandon Allen, the backup quarterback, and says, well, looks like we're going to the AFC Championship game, boys. I mean, what rookie in the National Football League does that?
That's Stones, man. That's Stones.
This guy's got ice in his veins and just has been absolutely immaculate. Meanwhile, Matt Gay, he's missing 47-yard field goals, which if the Browns would have lost that game, I mean, can you imagine against Tampa? How in the world you NFL kick and miss a 47-yard field goal short? He missed the kick against San Francisco 2 weeks ago. I mean, I'm sorry, but the clear-cut advantage, if there's any clear-cut advantage in this football game head-to-head between Cincinnati and the Rams, it's with field goal kicking. Not even close. Not even close.
All right. Well, we have analyzed basically all these teams inside out, upside down. Now it's prediction time. I have a feeling I know which way we're all going to kind of lean, but give me a score. Who's going to win? Is it going to be a last second win? Is it going to be a dominant kind of win? All right, Coach. You're our senior member of the panel here. You've been, you're our ace in the hole here on the show, Coach. Floor is yours first.
I got the Rams. I have the Rams. One thing about Cincinnati that makes me nervous is you're a terrible first half team. So I think that's one thing that you can't do. With this defense, that's different between the one that you play with Tennessee and that offense at Tennessee. You play behind, they're going to run the ball on you, and they're going to pin their ears back, and that D-line is going to come. So I think that's one of the things. So I got Rams.
All right. What's your score?
I hate this is the part I hate.
Right.
I don't like predicting scores either.
All right. Well, right now the line's 4.5. Are they covering the 4.5?
I think so. I like 24-17. I don't know. I hate doing scores.
All right, but you have the Rams covering. All right, so the Rams covered the 4.5. All right, we're gonna do Jai last because I have a feeling I know who he's picking. All right, Xander, you were on the Bengals bandwagon when you first came on the show in the beginning of the playoffs. Are you staying in the bandwagon, or are you going with the home team with the Rams?
Let me just tell you, since you've told me that I was going to be on the episode this morning, I've been debating this all day. I don't even know. I love being on the Bengals bandwagon, and my heart is telling me, yo, just go with the Bengals, ride them through the postseason, whatever. But like my brain is telling me dominant defense is going to win that championship. And, you know, I can't take anything away from anything that the Bengals have done, but in my opinion, the Rams have the superior offense. They've got the home field advantage. They've got the superior defense. I think the Rams take this one away. And I don't think they put it away too quickly. I think it does come a little bit down to the wire. I think, in my opinion, the score, I hope that we have a high scoring game. I'm saying it'll be 28-21 in the favor of the Rams. And as much as I'd love to go with the Bengals, I can't. I know I love the Bengals, man. I'm a Steelers fan, and I have loved the Bengals throughout this entire postseason. I have been rooting for them I don't think I've ever rooted for a rival as much as I've rooted for the Bengals this postseason. So yeah. But I do think the Rams win it 28-21. But still, you can't take anything away from the Bengals, what they've done this season and where they're at right now. And I think that this is going to be the first of a few Super Bowl appearances for the Bengals, possibly wins.
So you have the Rams covering as well. Now that's pretty big, Jai, for a Steelers fan to root for the Bengals throughout the playoffs until now. So you got to give a little props to that, right?
Well, surprisingly, Xander's not the first Steelers fan who I've come across throughout this entire playoff run that has been pulling for Cincinnati all January and now into February long. It also just goes, it's the two things. It's the likability of Burrow, the likability of this football team, and it's because of the fact that they never won before, that you kind of want to see that long-suffering fan base and that long-suffering franchise kind of get over that hump and win their first championship, because that first championship is just so special, especially if you're like a fan of like the Steelers where you've won 6 of them. And it's kind of, how you doing, keep it moving, this is what we do. Steeler Nation, wave the terrible towel, whole 9 yards. But with my Bengals, I picked them on my show too, and I haven't done my Super Bowl preview show, by the way. Check me out. I'm Untitled Chapter podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio, presented by Manscaped. But I predicted them to end the playoff drought against the Raiders. I didn't want to, but my heart was over my head with the Tennessee pick. I picked them to beat Tennessee. I picked them to beat the Chiefs. So by nature, and because I'm a diehard fan, long suffering, it is our time. We are going to beat the Los Angeles Rams and win our first Super Bowl championship in franchise history by the final score of 28-25.
All right. Oh, wow. A 3-pointer. There we go. Field goal. Well, that's kind of the direction I'm going as well, because, I believe in karma. I believe in, I always love an underdog, and for years and years, I've always rooted for the underdog. As a Giants fans, we were underdog in both the Super Bowls that we won. I've always loved an underdog. I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Knicks fan. I've been suffering with teams for years and years and years. And this Cincinnati team has a vibe and a karma that I haven't seen in a long time. Joe Burrow is the real deal. Jamar Chase is the real deal. They're playing so above their heads. They're playing without any fear. They're playing with like a lot of swagger. And they're out there saying, all right, we're down 21-3 to Kansas City. So what? Let's come back and let's win this game. Yeah, the game's in LA. I know that. Yes, Aaron Donald's on the other side of the ball. But something in my heart is just telling me that this is destiny for this team. And I don't know why, but I have a feeling they've won 2 games on walk-off field goals. And I'm feeling they're going to make it a hat trick and go 3 for 3. They're going to win by a field goal. It's going to be a last-second field goal. Money Mac's going to come in again and turn to his guys like, we're going to win this thing. and he's going to Disney World. And I have a feeling the Bengals are going to be having a little parade downtown by the riverfront, right there over the bridge from Kentucky, right by the stadium. I've been there once or twice, so I know where that stadium is. And I have a feeling the Cincinnati Bengals are going to win this thing. So that is my official prediction. We have a little more to cover, a couple of other NFL stories. We're going to take another short break, and we'll be right back.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
All right, we're back for our last segment of the show. This has been a great show so far. We completely broken down the Super Bowl. You know, I mean, you could have watched NFL Network, ESPN, ASAP Sports Channel. This is the place to be. We got so much happening all week. We had one of our guys actually interview Joe Burrow today in the virtual interview. That was pretty dope. We had Matt Stafford on earlier as well on the channel, so that was pretty cool. So we're definitely really deep in this Super Bowl week. We're really excited. On another NFL topic, did anyone watch that two-hand touch game yesterday? That supposed all-star football game?
I
watched about 3 minutes of it, and I said, you know what? My boys and I used to play in the yard rougher than this, and we were playing two-hand touch. That was ridiculous. I mean, obviously you need some sort of all-star game, but what do we do? How do we fix this? Do we just trash it? Do we have there was a suggestion where the number 1 and number 2 pick teams actually play, and the winner gets the number 1 pick. I mean, Xander, how do we fix this game? What do we do? Because the league still needs something, but what do we do to fix it? Because it was an abomination yesterday.
Oh, the years I've been thinking about this. I mean, oh my God. Yesterday I kept looking at the pop-ups on my phone saying, oh, the Pro Bowl is back from the half. Like, they're really trying to sell you the Pro Bowl, and it's just not working. In my opinion, when I watch an all-star game, I like watching a bunch of different all-stars from a bunch of different teams play on the same team. Mm-hmm. So, for example, in the NHL, they used to do a thing that they would have two overall captains of an all-star team, and then they would draft a team, and they would play in a game, and they'd have shifts, or there would be a multitude of teams, and they'd draft the teams and all that. Mm-hmm. So I honestly would love to see that. I would love to see the NFL pick two captains, two overall the best of the all-stars or the Pro Bowlers, and then those two guys, they pick a team based on, I guess, draft or based on some sort of competition for the draft. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's two quarterbacks and they do a farthest throw. I also want to bring that back, the farthest throw competition. Ooh, I would love to see Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, a bunch of people to launch balls down the field 70, 80 yards. Mm-hmm. Justin Herbert. But back to how we fixed the Pro Bowl. I would love for us to do an all-star fantasy draft. That would be fun to see. They did it for a couple of years with Team Irvin and Team Rice, but they didn't really continue it. Which was a little disappointing for me. I really love that. And as I said, I mean, bring back the throw competition. I like an all-star skills competition. I love that. So, I mean, what the NFL does with it, it's pretty nice. But honestly, bring back that throw competition. I think you'd have a lot more people tuning in if you had Herbert, Allen, Mahomes just tossing balls.
Right. We want to welcome in our producer, Tony, is in the house. Tony, how are you today?
I'm living a dream, sir. How are you?
Good. All right. So before you tell us how to fix the Pro Bowl or eliminate the Pro Bowl, give us your Super Bowl prediction.
Yeah, it's one of those, being stationed in Ohio currently, I'm around a bunch of Cincinnati fans. And I will say, out of everywhere I've ever been, Cincinnati fans are probably the best. They're quiet, they're not really, they don't brag, you're not.
Oh, you haven't looked at Jai's Twitter, have you?
No, I haven't. No. But they're not out here I'm not sitting here hearing hoo day all the time. If anything, I hear more it's the Ohio State. I hear stuff like that all the time. So I mean, really, I don't hear a lot from Bengals fans. So like I said, for me, I'm kind of indifferent. I'm just happy Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are out of it. Personal preference. That's immediately what makes this a great Super Bowl, in my opinion. exactly right. I think that's what we can all be happy for, except for Coach. Unfortunately, I know Coach is a Bucks fan, so he wanted to see Brady go into another bowl. But I'll be honest with you. I'm going to go a little bit of an opposite. I'm going to say 24-17 Rams. So.
Okay, so you have the Rams covering. All right, so we'll stay with you just for a minute. So how do we fix the abomination that is the Pro Bowl?
I want to address one thing real quick. Rob, when you guys can beat Ohio State more than once every decade, please let me know. When your guys' coach can offer to stay there, please let me know. Anyway, fixing the Pro Bowl. To me, I think there has to be some type of motivation, because for a lot of these guys that come into this game, it is about having fun. They want to come in. You're just kind of hanging out. You're not really playing for anything. Make it worth kind of the stakes. Like if the NFC wins, maybe each team gets like another draft pick, and depending on how much you win by, or how well you win, or if you win maybe more of the skills competitions. Like, okay, if you win the skills competitions and the Pro Bowl, maybe each NFC team or AFC team gets like an extra 4th round pick or something like that. Because to me, these guys, they don't really play. They're not playing for anything, at least from a Cowboys fan perspective. There was 3 of them opted out, and it's like, really what for? Why are we going to put our bodies on a line for a game that's not really difficult? It's not one of those, grudging games, but you're still having to go out there. You're still having to perform. And it's like, for what? It's not the big game that matters. It's just a game where a bunch of guys are hanging out, a bunch of bros, and it is fun. It's probably entertaining for them. For us as fans, it's nothing really to go home about. And to me, they need motivation. And if you're not really playing for anything other than bragging rights, and I mean,
right.
You really brag.
Exactly. All right, Coach, I'm going to go to you. You coach players. The physical gruel of a season. Obviously, these guys don't want to get hurt, but they have the honor of representing their team, representing their league on the field. So they have to, put some sort of product that the fans are going to, still want to watch. So, I mean, do they just make it a flag football game, or just actually make it, something that is safe for the players but competitive at the same time? What do you think?
To be honest with you, I think they should go back to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Go back. At least.
Well, I think COVID has something to do with that right now, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely.
But even beforehand COVID, they had took it away from Hawaii, and they was going around the states. But I think you should go somewhere somewhere nice, somewhere cool where the family can relax. Because then you pick your family and everything else. Right. I think you should kind of do it like how the NBA does it. Like you have like the rookie all-stars or the future, like on a Friday play, then on Saturday, which that brings more people there. Then you have like a Saturday like skills, where you have the 1-on-1s, you have the 40, you have a challenge. Like you kind of go back what Xander said, have whoever the top 2 picks, the top most voted players, pick a roster, and then it'd be AFC versus NFC, have a competition throughout the whole day. And then you have the game, which now the game is more so, like you said, of a flag football. And you see more skill guys, 1-on-1. Now you see the advantage of the 1-on-1 route running and stuff like that. And it makes it more interesting because you have more competition. You could do D-line competition. You could bring back the bench press. They used to do that. You had the 40s, do the 40s. Instead of having a 40 man, make it a relay.
That'd be interesting.
Like one of the things you got to make it exciting, something to see, because the normal football player doesn't watch the game. I didn't even know it was on. I thought it came on I knew it was coming on Sunday, but I didn't know it came on so early.
Right.
Like I can't tell you the last time I watched the Pro Bowl. But if you have stuff that's entertaining all the way up into the Pro Bowl, at least it'll keep people engaged.
Right. No, definitely. All right, Jai, what's your take on this real quick?
There's a couple of schools of thought, and it kind of like intertwines of some other NFL headlines that we've seen off the field within the last few weeks or so, with that element of Brian Flores with saying that Stephen Ross paid him to lose games and the whole tanking controversy. Right. Here's a suggestion in which you also fix the Pro Bowl. You enhance the skills challenges. You don't put them on at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night on ESPN2 on a Thursday. You
Mhm.
put them on at 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. Stick it on ABC. Stick it on ESPN. You bring back the bench press. You have, as Xander brought up, the longest throw competition. Allen versus Mahomes versus Rodgers, and have them go crazy for 3 hours. And they may never do it. But it's so bad and it's so unentertaining and so, I'm not going to say uninspiring, but it's such a horrendous product that you're almost at the point where you just bag it all together. And
Right.
if it was me, I'd bet I'd enhance the skills competition, still count it as an award and as an accolade you get as far as Hall of Fame candidacy and legacy and all that sort of stuff. But trash the game and get the two worst teams. You can do one from the two worst teams in each conference, or the two worst teams record-wise from the NFL from that previous season, and you say, hey, see what and they will give it to a network that doesn't have the Super Bowl. Give it to Fox, or give it to CBS, or if NBC doesn't have the game, give it to NBC. Put the game on at 1 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, and say, the winner who wins this game, the team gets the number one pick in the draft. Or take an element of baseball, and I just thought about this as we were kibitzing here. Take this element from the baseball All-Star game the way it used to be, and have home field advantage be on the line. Now you say, well, how's it going to be home field advantage if Super Bowl's at a neutral site? Simple. And this is where the 17th game comes in. 17th game, you're going to have years where the AFC teams play more games than the NFC teams. Perfect example, using the two Super Bowl teams. Bengals played 9 home games, 10 if you count postseason. Rams played 8 playoff games, 10 if you want to include the 2 playoff games. With the 17th game, you're going to have years where a certain where 15 teams in one conference have, or not 15, but if a certain amount of teams, if teams from the AFC have a certain amount of home games, and the team from an NFC and teams from the NFC have a certain amount of home games on other, and you simply alternate it. Here's what you do: AFC versus NFC in the Pro Bowl, and winner of that game, that conference, the teams that play in that conference that's represented by those players, they get that 9th home game. That's how I would solve it. Now, and I understand
kind of like what Major League Baseball did with the All-Star game years ago, right?
Right, with the World Series a little bit.
Right.
And, I understand that Darius slaves of the world saying, listen, this game means nothing. The players that played on, Justin Herbert, for a perfect example, he hadn't played a game since January 9th. He hadn't played a game in almost a whole month. The last time he put on pads and played an actual organized football game. The Patrick Mahomes of the world, Deebo Samuels, they played, of course, last week, so their body is still relatively fresh. I get that perspective, and the Darius slaves of the world, that we're not going to go out there and risk health and contracts and incentives, all that sort of stuff, to play a meaningless game. But when you have the Shannon Sharps and Deion Sanders of the world, ripping the Pro Bowl, who are ex-NFL players, played a long time, their names hold cachet in the sport, and their busts are sitting in Canton. And Shannon Sharp, of course, is regarded one of the best tight ends in the history of the sport, and Deion, of course, is regarded as one of the best corners in the history of the sport. So it's not just the fans that are kicking and screaming, the schlubs that have never played the game. It's the retirees who are sitting in the Hall of Fame that are sitting up there saying, we can't watch this garbage. With all due respect, this ain't football. I understand it's the Pro Bowl, but you got to give me something better than this. So either get rid of it altogether and enhance the skills competition and move it to a weekend afternoon TV slate and replace the Pro Bowl with a quote unquote tank bowl, where if you win, you get the number 1 pick, or you add that incentive of the winner of the Pro Bowl, that conference gets that 9th home game for the upcoming season. But you got to fix it.
I like that, but I do like the tank bowl as well. The winner gets the number 1 pick. I kind of would like to see that. That would kind of be kind of cool. All right, one more story I want to talk about. I'm going to combine things here. 3 coaches were hired today, filling out the remaining coaching vacancies. Mike McDaniel, the offensive coordinator from the San Francisco 49ers, was hired by the Dolphins. Lovie Smith got the Houston Texans job, and about an hour before we went on the air, Dennis Allen got the Saints job. So, Coach, out of these three coaches, who do you think was the best hire?
Lovey. Lovey Smith. One thing about Lovey, man, Lovey's he's a player's guy. He's an old school, and he has experience. And having what he got in Houston, I mean, it's nothing but up for them. You look at when the Saints, they just got him because he's familiar with the Saints organization. So he knows the defense is going to be good, but everybody else on that offense is going to be real terrible, especially after what happened to Alvin.
Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble, but we'll talk about that next time. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I like the Miami job. You kind of my thing is you don't know anything about him. Like, you know, he was the OC or whatever, but he didn't call the plays.
No.
So he wasn't the guy that orchestrated the drives or the wins. So I'm just,
Exactly. All right, Xander, what about you? Out of these three coaching hires, who do you think is the best hire there?
I mean, it's between Dennis Allen and Lovey Smith. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, overall, I think Lovey Smith is going to have it's going to be the better choice in the end. But I mean, Dennis Allen was a great choice for the Saints. He proved that he can go up against top tier offense and he can beat them and shut them out. And especially in a shorter week, and with a bunch of things happening with COVID on that team, like that was a heck of a win. And I think it was great because I didn't want to see the Saints get a completely new head coach because I didn't think they need that. I didn't think they needed a whole new overhaul. I think they just needed somebody in the organization. So I think both of them are equally great hires, but I think overall, in the end, we're going to see Lovey Smith come out as like the best hire for this through this whole head coaching hiring segment. Okay,
Jai, what about you?
Lovey Smith, it's a good hire. The only negative thing is that if the Texans were going to go through all those machinations of getting David Culley out of there and the absolute just horrendous deal that he got, replacing him, first year head coach in his 60s, nothing to work with, and you send him out the door, all for you to circle the wagons and have the temerity, the audacity, the chutzpah, the unmitigated gall to think of even hiring Josh McCown. And then all of a sudden you get killed for it. Of course, with the Flores lawsuit probably plays a part into it as well. All for you to just go right back to the organization and hire Lovey Smith. I mean, it's the Texans. They're in the same category with the Dolphins and as Washington, organizations that have no freaking clue, that don't know which way is up. But I like Lovey Smith as a coach. The fact that he got fired after a 10-6 season in Chicago and got replaced with Mark freaking Trestman of all people is just an absolute disgrace. But he will bring some respectability and some accountability to that team. So I expect them to be about the same as they were last year, if not better. And then, of course, Dennis Allen, have no problem with that hire. They can be a competitive football team with the right coaching, and if everything falls into place. And, like Coach said, they're going to have good defense, but offense is going to be in the toilet, especially with Alvin Kamara getting himself in trouble. So it's a safe hire with Dennis Allen. Knows the team, knows the players, knows the system. And we all know the Saints are going to be a contender in the NFC next season and probably for seasons to come in the afterwards anyway. So I don't have a problem with that hire. Mike McDaniels is a hire that, again, Dolphins, they don't know which way is up. Stephen Ross is an absolutely horrendous owner that knows his ass from his elbow. Going out there and hiring Mike McDaniel, the OC of the San Francisco 49ers, and everybody knows that Kyle Shanahan's fingerprint is all over the San Francisco 49er offense. I mean, but again, that's what you get with the Dolphins, the Houston Texans, and Washington. Three teams that are their own worst enemy, don't know which way is up, and they get in their own damn way. So if you go out there and you go 0-17, I ain't crying the river for you. You had no business firing Brian Flores. That's all there is to it.
I ain't crying the river for you. All right, Tony, let's hear your take on this real quick, and then we'll finish up.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I grew up in Indianapolis, so I watched a lot of Bears game, watched a lot of Lovey Smith, loved the Lovey Smith hire. I thought he was one of the few bright spots for the Texans last year for that defense, because that defense was always competitive, gave a lot of really good teams a run for their money. So I think that's solid. I I hope the Texans don't do to him like what they did to David Culley. You have a solid head coach. You have a solid head coaching experience there. Let Lovey build the team he needs to build. And I'll be interested to see what Lovey can actually do now with a true franchise quarterback that's not named Jay Cutler. Because
That's a good one.
have a quarterback either for him to really build around. And he went 8-24 with the Buccaneers for the 2 seasons he was there. So let him have an actual quarterback now that's not Jay Cutler. Let's see what he can actually do if Deshaun Watson's able to be there. Miami, yeah, it's one of those. We'll have to wait and see. I didn't even know this dude was a front runner for like anything. I mean, I had heard rumors maybe the OC for San Francisco. It's like, okay, well, they hired this guy. Why not? To me, honestly, the worst hire is Dennis Allen. And I say that because he, to me, is one of those. He's a coordinator, and coordinators don't always transfer over to being head coaches. And I say that because you look at maybe the 2017 Minnesota Vikings. Pat Shurmur, great offensive coordinator, terrible head coach, and especially for your New York Giants, that he was terrible. And you can say the same thing for Hugh Jackson. Great offensive coordinator for the Bengals. Goes to the Browns and is awful the entire time. So will it correlate over? He wasn't great when he was the head coach of the Raiders. I don't know if he's going to be that great if he's the head coach of the Saints. And I say that because he's inheriting a mess. You're $75 million over the cap, so you have essentially no money. You have a defense that you're going to have some free agents left. Your running back now is probably gone. So now you don't have a running back. You don't know who your quarterback is. You've lost your star wide receiver in Michael Thomas because he probably doesn't want to be there anymore. You have a makeshift wide receiver core. The only good thing you have is a good offensive line and probably some pieces on defense. But other than that, you've got really nothing. So to me, I say Dennis Allen is the worst, and I only say that because of just the situation he's in. And like I said, it's one of those that's what I hate for new coaches or coaches that are getting second chances is when they just go to a bad situation that they're not going to be able to dig themselves out of. That's why I'm kind of glad coaches like Eric Bieniemy and stuff like that didn't get the coaching job in Jacksonville because that's a mess. Nobody wants to go there. I wouldn't want him to be the head coach of Detroit because that's going to kill his coaching career. Don't go do that. But to me, it's Lovey. Like I said, he did a lot for the Texans last year. I really, really hope that they actually build around Lovey. I hope the Deshaun Watson thing goes positively for Deshaun and for the Texans and for Lovey because, again, he needs a franchise quarterback. Just please don't trade another star player for a bag of chips and a peanut like they did for DeAndre Hopkins.
100%.
Definitely not. Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence with all three, but I'm just going to go with the veteran. I'm going to with Lovie Smith. I think he brings that veteran leadership that young Houston team needs, and hopefully they'll be able to dig out from the McNair's asinine ownership because they obviously have no clue what they're doing there. All right, we have time for the last take of the night. We're getting close to 9:30. I knew we were going to go long tonight, but everyone, just one last take. I'm going to go to Xander first. Now, Xander, I want you to talk a little bit about hockey. You're a big hockey guy. You and Nate will hopefully be getting our hockey show started soon. So it was All-Star Weekend. I watched a little bit of the game on Saturday. Definitely a lot of young stars. So just talk about just quickly about a couple of the young up-and-coming stars in the NHL that we need to look out for in the second half.
Well, here's the thing. You guys, I don't know if any of you guys watched the All-Star Skills Competition. Jordan Kyrou is so fast. I don't know how. I didn't even know that he was in the All-Star game until I saw him in the fastest skater competition.
He beat McDavid, right?
Yeah, he beat McDavid.
Right.
And Dylan Larkin, who holds the record for the fastest skater in the All-Star competition with 13.8 seconds, or no, 12.8 seconds. Him, we all saw Jack Hughes. We all see Jack Hughes if you guys follow any type of hockey. He's in the news a lot. Him and his former USA teammate Trevor Zegras are two studs. Troy Terry is going to be amazing. He was in the All-Star game. But the guy that you're going to really want to watch throughout the entire rest of the season is Jack Hughes and how he takes the second half of the season. I've seen about 2 seasons from Jack Hughes. I've seen one that was sort of good because he was like the number 1 overall pick. They brought him on. He had a couple of good games. He had a few points. And then last season, that's when he really shot up the record or really shot up the board. And he was like, wow, this kid can really play. And then this season, he's just showing he can play. I mean, last season he had some injury issues. This season, he's really calmed those down, and he's really performing like a number 1 overall pick should. And so he's going to be the biggest guy that you want to look out for. And really not too many young guys. I mean, obviously we have the younger guys, like, the 27, 28-year-olds. I mean, Connor McDavid, you always got to watch out for him. Dylan Larkin.
Austin Matthews, right?
Austin Matthews. Oh, man, Austin Matthews. He's just a walking goal. Leon Draisaitl and I think Mitch Marner made it. If not, then
all right, so a lot of good young players coming out. I know Jack Hughes plays for the Devils. I know the Devils are not having a good season right now, but hopefully
not the best, but he's their bright light.
They will turn that franchise around. All right, Coach, what's your final take of the night?
Hey, first off, it was great having everybody. I kind of agree. I think one of the worst. I think the Chicago Bears, coaching wise, Chicago Bears and the Broncos did a terrible job of hiring someone. I think the Jaguars. When you look at it, you pay attention to a lot of stuff. You kind of realize that these guys, you see why they're in the position that they're in because of decision making. The people they hire to make the decisions, and it's sometimes it's like common sense things. But I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl. I enjoyed talking to you, Xander, Jai. It's always been a pleasure. I hope you come on next Monday so we can really have a blast.
Oh, if Cincinnati wins, it's going to be the John Shields hour. Trust me.
And God forbid if they lose, knock on wood, I'm not going to run and hide. I'll just take my medicine.
Yeah, but I think it's good. Last thing about it, because I know we'll be the Super Bowl. I think this is the Bengals. This is their one shot. I truly, truly, truly believe it. They don't have many. They got maybe 2 more years max. Just for the simple fact of the matter, you start looking at salary caps because you're going to start paying these guys in a minute. So and realize, I mean, it's one of those things kind of like the Bengals. Not the Bengals, I mean the Browns. Browns had they run last year, and then you saw what they did this year. So, like I said, that's the thing about football, man. It's a game that you love and watch. So, it's
exactly. I'm going to save Jai for last. Tony, what's your last take of the night?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Coach. I kind of hope the Bengals do win, even though I think the Browns will, because like Coach said, the best time for teams to win a Super Bowl is when they're not paying their players anything. Patrick Mahomes has been to 2 Super Bowls, but he won one when he was on a rookie contract. He wasn't making anything. Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl when he was on his rookie contract, wasn't making anything. The only 3 that have won a Super Bowl that weren't being paid on their rookie contract is Tom Brady, Eli Manning, and Nick Foles. Those are the only 3 here in the recent, 10 plus years that have won.
Well, Peyton also.
And Peyton, right?
Yeah.
Peyton too. So it's, again, that's not very many. The rest you've pretty much had to be. And I think this future is really bright for Cincy. I just hope that Cincinnati plays it smart. Please don't give Zach Taylor like a 20-year extension, something crazy. He gets 1 good year in the Super Bowl. Just don't overbet. If you want to give him 2 years, give him 2 years. Don't be the Raiders. Don't be like 10 years, $100 million. Zach, you're the guy, and then that's the bucket.
Oh, that's funny. All right, John, we got about a minute left. What's your last take of the night?
Well, Tony, it's ironic that you bring that up because every single time I call into Christopher Mad Dog Russo, Mad Dog Unleashed, he goes, here's Giant Baltimore, the Bengals fan that wanted Zach Taylor fired about 4 or 5 times middle of the season. But that's how you get these fans. They love him one week, they want to find the next. Now all of a sudden he wants to get my lifetime contract because he's going to Super Bowl, won a couple of playoff games, man. Jay West, tough to take, gotta be fair. But I would be shocked if this doesn't go down in history, regardless of who wins or loses, as an all-time classic Super Bowl. I'd be absolutely shocked if this, because if you really think about it, we have not had an all-time classic. You remember the day, you remember the game like it was yesterday type of Super Bowl since Eagles Patriots. I got a weird suspicion that it could be Eagles Patriots, but and also real quick with the baseball, figure it out, guys. Quit buckling heads and locking horns and going back and forth. You're pissing off the fans at this point. You really are. I don't care about sides. I don't care about prorated salaries and early free agency and all that other useless crap. It's February 7th. All right, opening day is less than 2 months away. Get a damn deal done. Rob Manfred, a stooge, absolute stooge. They're not going to be satisfied until Olympic curling outdraws the Game 7 of the World Series in the ratings at this point. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that is, Josh stole a little bit of my thunder about the baseball. Yeah, I'm a huge baseball fan. I love baseball since I was a kid. I played Little League, love going to the game, love taking my daughter to games now. Yeah, guys, get it done. This is millionaires arguing with billionaires. Us common folk, we just want to see you play the game, so get it done. There's a lot of good things happening. We want something to do over the summer, so definitely get it done. Guys, everyone, thank you so much. Amazing show tonight. Thank you for all your takes, all your opinions, all your insight. We will see you guys next Monday night, Valentine's Day, but I'll be here because I already negotiated with my wife that we're going to go out a couple days after Valentine's Day. So I'll be here to break down the Super Bowl with my crew. Enjoy the game, guys, and we'll see everybody next week. We're out.
Whole sports, all plays. Yeah. Whole sports, all plays. Whole sports, all plays. 365, we're making up plays. We're talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays.